So the first thing we have to do is obtain the bone marrow from the horse, from which we can recover the stem cells, and we do that from the sternum, which is probably the easiest site to obtain the bone marrow, although it can be done from other sites, including the tubercocci. The stages of the process involve first sedation of the animal with an alpha-2 agonist and butorphanol so that the procedure is pain-free. We then locate the position of the individual sternobrae using ultrasound. This allows us to place the needle very accurately into each sternobrae rather than into the intrasternal spaces where there would be no bone marrow. Most important thing is we identify the very back of the caudal end of the sternum, because it's very important that the needle is not introduced behind or caudal to the sternum. So having identified the location of the sternobrae, we then scrub the area, and we'll introduce some local anesthetic under the skin in the exact sites where we're going to introduce the Jamshidi needle. Now, in order to ease passage of the needle through the skin, we make a small stab incision through that local anesthetic bleb using a number 11 scalpel blade. We then introduce the Jamshidi needle in the midline, and that's very important so that it's right in the midline. It hits the sternum perpendicular to where it was introduced, and then I position my index finger about 2 centimeters away from the skin surface. This is to use as a marker to ensure that the Jamshidi needle is not pushed too far in and therefore have a risk of going right the way through the sternum. So 2 centimeters is all that's required for the Jamshidi needle to be introduced into the sternum using a rotating movement. Having introduced it into the sternum, then the central trocar is removed and the syringe is attached, which has been preloaded with heparin, and the bone marrow is aspirated. There is always a short delay before the bone marrow flows into the syringe. After that, there is another sample taken using a 5 ml syringe so that we can put that bone marrow into the citrate anticoagulant, which is used to derive the supernatant in which the cells are suspended for implantation. Having aspirated bone marrow from one sternobra, then the needle is introduced into the next, the more cranial sternobra in order to obtain bone marrow from that site also. This ensures that we have ample bone marrow with which to culture the cells from.
Right. Now, I have a Blue Peter bit here.